It should be live now. Let me just make sure for the listeners out there as I confirm. And we are. Somehow, someway. So, Enrique, how are you? We got some great news today. Carlos Rodon signs with the Yankees for 6 years, 162. I absolutely love the deal. I think it's perfect for Rodon and I think for the Yankees as well. But before I get into all that, how you feeling with the move?
Brother, I'm ecstatic. I feel like this was a move that needed to be made. I know we spoke off air with our colleague Alex, who called it a luxury more than a necessity. While I may agree with him to an extent, I don't fully agree. Given the fact that, as we've seen in history, you can't get too far in the postseason when you have to rely on one guy. Most successful World Series caliber teams in the past have always had two aces or a true ace and a solid number two right behind them. We've lacked that for a while now. We've had to depend solely on Garrett Cole for a long time. We've had to depend on him to be our horse. Um, you know, Aaron Judge's own words. He said, "This guy's a horse. We need to get him some help because it's not fair that he has to do it all on his own." Well, that help came today in the form of Carlos Rodon. By the way, Carlos, if you ever get to see this, I hope I'm saying your name correct. I hope I'm not butchering it. I've seen online that some people say it's Rodon, some people say Rodon. Por si acaso, mi brother, disculpa si lo dije mal. I'm sorry. But back to my original thought, man. I couldn't be happier. I feel like Garrett got his right hand man as far as the two top aces of the rotation, and this reminds me of and I hate to bring them up, but we always seem to because they're the measuring stick that we're trying to get up to and trying to reach. This reminded me of when Houston had Verlander and Cole. You know what I'm saying? You knew that when you were going up against Houston, if you were facing the top of the rotation, you had to steal at least one game, because if you lost both first games of the series to Cole and Verlander, you were out of luck. You know what I'm saying? And that's the situation that now I feel with this move, we've put the rest of the AL in. You know what I'm saying? You cannot tell me that any AL team facing us in the playoffs is not scared right now. Like, oh damn, now in a 5 game set, say we're going against whatever team comes out of the wild card, they have to go they have to win 3 games when literally the first 2 games are against Garrett Cole and Carlos Rodon. Pretty tall task, Sean, don't you think?
Yeah, I think it's even beyond that. It goes even. I think our rotation is top three in baseball. Garrett Cole obviously still at the top. Arguably you got Carlos Rodon now at number two. You can make the case either whether it's going to be Nestor or Severino at three to kind of balance out that righty lefty. So you could have Severino at three. You can now have 2022 All Star Nestor Cortez, your favorite player in history. That like to mess with you a little bit. If you have Nestor at number four, I don't think you could have asked for better. And then to have Frankie Montas, your big trade acquisition last trade deadline, sitting at five with no pressure. I don't know. There's five number ones there that just 2 years ago. So obviously with Nestor being a number one with his numbers last year, but that's a hell of a rotation, and that's something the Yankees needed to absolutely have. Yeah, it's a little bit of a luxury, but I think there's still a lot of moves to be made. I definitely don't think this is the
Absolutely.
end. I don't think this is anywhere near the end. I think this is just something that, when you look at the teams that you're competing against to get to the World Series, you have to compare yourself to the ones that the juggernaut of the world. Yes, it is Houston, and Houston, even though they lost Verlander to the crosstown to the Mets, they the Astros still have six starters who are top guys who are still going to be a great team, a really tough out. And if you bring out this rotation to go against Houston, if you bring the bats, you could beat this team. But as of right now, on paper, this rotation is good enough to battle against Houston.
And listen, first of all, man, you want to bring up Nestor, bro. I forgot to mention this. I mentioned it on Twitter, bro. How cool is it for me and any other Yankee fan that's either Cuban born or of Cuban descent because their parents are Cuban? Now you got two Cubanos in the starting rotation, baby. I love it. I love it. That's awesome, man. Bro, I'm waving my Cuban flag proud tonight. You know what I'm saying, with Nestor and Rodon representing. You know what I'm saying. Yeah, man. Look, and this goes beyond just Houston. When, like I said, they had Verlander and Cole, or like you said, even now when they lost them and they still got a solid rotation. Bro, you could go back even to the '90s when Atlanta had Smoltz and Glavine. You know what I'm saying? And they were doing their thing. You could go to when the Dodgers were really good with Walker Bueller and Clayton Kershaw. Like, you always see these teams that they have two studs at the top. Yankees did their thing when they got Garrett Cole by getting a solidified ace. Okay, that was great, but he was your only true ace. You had hopes that Severino would round into form and he would be your solid number two, right behind Cole, and you'd have that 1-2 punch with him and Severino. But that's never come to fruition, whether it's been because of injuries or, you know, just him not living up to that hype. Who knows? You know what I'm saying? I still believe in him. I still think he can be a solid pitcher for us. Maybe not an ace type like he was when he first came to the league, but I feel like he can be a solid piece. And listen, in this rotation, bro, slot him in wherever. And I agree with you, by the way, about the Yankees not being done. I absolutely believe they're not done. For any of our listeners or anybody that's watching this live right now, don't forget Michael Kay said himself that the Yankees are working on something big. That's what he's heard. That he said, and I quote, they're still in on Rodon, but on top of that, they're working on something big. I spoke to a buddy of mine earlier today that he was getting impatient with that big move not coming. And I told him, and I'm going to say it now, exactly what I told him at that moment. I told him, make no mistake and don't throw it out that that big move is just in the holster being ready to be fired, but they're waiting on the Rodon move first. That they want to get that done first before they, quote unquote, pull off their big trade or big signing. Like, they wanted to get Rodon taken care of first. Well, now that that's done with, I feel like that big move could come at any moment. Sean, how about you, man? I think it's. I think we could wake up within the next few days and see something, or maybe within the next week. Who knows?
Yeah, I definitely think the Yankees are going to try. I think honestly, I think right now the focus is going to go right towards left field. It seems it's very quiet between the Yankees and Benintendi right now. I think like you said though, I agree that I believe that it had to do with getting Rodon done. And now that you have him done, I think the focus now shifts to trying to trade the pieces that you have because now when you get Rodon, you put Domingo Herman basically on the block because he was your projected fifth starter. And, we talked about this in our other episodes too, where you had to make a decision if you were going to get Rodon, whether who was your long reliever out of the pen, and was it going to be Domingo or was it going to be Clark? And I would have to assume the Yankees are going to go with Clark. They believed in Clark. He's much younger. I do love Domingo Herman. I'm not saying I've always liked him. Obviously, he has his off-field issues that he's, you know, working back from. But I've always had a great respect for Rodon. Yes, respect
Domingo
for Rodon,
Herman.
but for Domingo, I've had respect for Domingo on the field. He's come in and done the job. He was arguably one of our best starters for that short time period in August. Um, we needed him, and he stepped up, especially when Montas came over and got hurt. And he came in for Severino, and Severino came back, and he took Montas's spot in the rotation. Um, my wife over here is mocking me, but but it's just I do think it's his time to go. Unfortunately, I think he could go and flourish somewhere else, and I think they're going to give the spot to Clark Schmidt, and it just opens up the door for a trade package, for a left fielder. And I know there's people on that think that Reynolds is for real or is not. I think Reynolds is a real possibility. And I think you can even throw in Herman, in that trade package. You can go with someone like that. I might have said Rodon there, but Domingo. You could put I keep doing that. You could put Domingo Herman. You could put Gleyber Torres. You could add a top shortstop prospect. You could even throw in Florial. I think it's going to take more than that. Probably a Jason Dominguez type, but in case they don't want Jason Dominguez to headline it, you could always put in Peraza. You could, throw in Cabrera with Florial and make some trade pieces in that. But I think that's the move right now, is to focus on getting your starting left fielder. Is that Benintendi or is it a trade piece? That's something we're gonna have to wait and see.
Yeah, man. I mean, I'd be fully happy if they address left field next. However, I feel that if, quote unquote, like I said, that big move is next, left field probably isn't it, bro. Because I mean, and I know we've spoken about this off air. I know you're a big Brian Reynolds fan. I like the guy, don't get me wrong, but if that's your big move, I feel like that's gonna upset a lot of Yankee fans, and they're gonna be like, "This was it." This was what Michael K was hyping up. You know what I'm saying? I feel like that ain't it, bro. I don't know about you,
I
but
don't know, man.
that's what I think.
I disagree because it's I think Reynolds is the move because he's a top, I think, top one, top two center fielders in the game right now, and you can always have him in case you lose Bader next season. But to have an outfield of Reynolds, a switch hitter, especially who also a fantastic hitter. Bader in center, great defensively, and in Judge and right. Now that that's locked up, I think that's one of the best outfields you can ask for in baseball. You have one of the top starting rotations in baseball, and then if you could just somehow fix third base, I know Donaldson's the big issue there. Aaron Hicks is as well, but also you do have DJ LeMahieu as the utility guy who doesn't have a spot yet, and unless Glaber does get traded, which is definitely possible, then you also could put DJ back at third and kind of make your rounds with that. But I do think that I think Reynolds is a great piece. I don't know, you know, honestly for me, I think Reynolds is better than Benintendi
Oh, no
and
doubt,
costs way
no doubt.
less
You'll
and
get no
only,
argument from me there.
yeah, and 3 years of team control, that opens up so many more doors to work with other trades and maybe even going out and getting someone else if the Mets don't get to him first, because the Mets seem to be getting everyone. But I think if you could get Reynolds, man, you could blow this whole thing wide open. I disagree a little bit because I think Yankee fans would be blown away if you got someone like Reynolds. Reynolds has been on the Yankees radar for years and is arguably a top two,
Well,
top
they'd be
one center
happy,
fielder.
Sean. They'd be happy, but would they? My question to you that I'm posing to you is, if that was revealed as the big move that Michael K is hearing that they're in the works with, you think they'd be happy? Like, oh, this was the big move that Michael K was teasing.
Yeah, I think so because unless it's a pipe dream like it's Tatis Jr., which would never happen.
I
Correa's
no.
already was the other pipe dream thought, and that's not happening. Obviously, he's a giant now, but unless Tatis was really part of the answer, which I don't think it is. No, I think Reynolds would be huge because the Yankees have enough. The Yankees are probably one of the very few teams that could make a Reynolds trade work and make Reynolds go to, because Reynolds asked for a trade, so you could give him what he wants, what the Yankees want, and even what the Pirates want. It could be a three-way win for everyone, which is very rare. So I think I think honestly, it's been super quiet around that subject. I think the Yankees always work very quietly. There's usually no rumors ever when it comes to the Yankees and trades. It just happens, and I'd be very happy if Reynolds came over, and I think he would be a huge impact to the team right away. You got a top guy in the lineup right off the bat, either batting first or second. You know, he would be huge. And you have him in left. You can have him in center at times. You know, you always have to play safe, especially because Bader is a fantastic talent, but let's not forget he was hurt for most of last season. And you can't go backwards on that. You know, if Bader somehow or unfortunately gets injured, you don't know. You don't really have a backup piece in there. I don't think Aaron Hicks will be on the team, so really your only option is Florial at that point. So you can't have that. You have to have someone who can man center field, and you really don't want it to be Judge. Kind of want Judge to sit tight at right
That's what
field.
I was gonna say. It would most likely be Judge, and you'd be playing with the same situation as last year, where you're playing Oswaldo Cabrera in one of the corner spots.
Exactly.
That's what you would be stuck with.
Exactly. And that it's all fine and dandy, but I kind of like Oswaldo being that utility guy where he could come in and play multiple positions. You really can't do it with two utility guys, and DJ's already the first one, and you got to have to find a starting spot for him. So it's going to have to include getting rid of Donaldson or Glaber. They're going to have to figure that out and get DJ in a starting role. And I think Oswaldo is definitely going to be a Yankee. I would be very surprised if he's not a Yankee.
Oh, we
But
had that discussion. Remember, I had a
yeah,
whole thing with Alex about
I,
this.
but I understand where he's coming from because I think Oswaldo is great, but I don't see him being a superstar or star. I think he's great. I think he's a fan favorite right now. I think he's a 2016, 2017 Marlon Gonzalez, who had his career years in 2017, 2018, was good in Houston, had that one good year in Minnesota, and like I think he's that a guy you can rely to play any position, to have a decent bat, and could be a spark. He was a fan favorite in Houston. I liked him every second he was here. I know a lot of Yankee fans didn't, but I think that's what he is, and he can play anything. He's the most trustworthy guy you can have on the field, and he brings that spark emotionally as well. So I don't want to see him in a starting role. I think having that many rookies is going to be tough, especially with Volpe coming up soon. I think it's going to be Peraza's job to lose shortstop, but I think if the Yankees want to be real deal, you got to have to go for Reynolds, and that's why I think it's been not so surprising that the Yankees haven't touched Benintendi as much as people want, because I think the Yankees are really going for that trade piece in Reynolds or something close to it.
Let me ask you, um, because actually, it's funny enough that we're talking about this because literally moments, and I'm talking moments before the Rodon trade before the Rodon signing became official, I was talking to that buddy of mine, and we were talking about all this, and we spoke about Tatis and that whole fake rumor that was thrown out there. You know what I'm saying? That Jack Curry quickly
Yeah, I know what
shot
you're saying.
down. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, me and him got into a whole conversation about it, and he was like, "Well, listen," and I'll pose this question to you, and then I got a thought after this because I actually have another guy that I want to ask you. What if he's the quote unquote big thing they're working on, which I wouldn't be happy if he was the big thing either, but I want to get your thoughts. My buddy asked me, he's like, well, I told him straight up, I'm like, listen, the problem with Tatis is that he's on a 13-year deal. I don't know what year of that 13-year deal he's on. I don't remember when he signed that extension, and maybe you do, Sean, or you could look it up. But it's 13 years, bro. And Injuries aside, what worries me about this dude is that he's such a knucklehead off the field with all his stuff he does, the motorcycle accidents, the just his off the field behavior. Like he seems like a knucklehead and he seems like he doesn't listen. He's told not to do something, he still does it. He's one of these kids that unfortunately has such great talent, but he's just a knucklehead. And that would worry me in a city like New York, where you put a guy like that with the type of money that he was paid in that extension, bro, you know all the trouble you could get in New York with the right amount of money. And for a guy like that, you give a guy like that money in a city like New York, bro, you're just it's a recipe for disaster. And my buddy said, well, wouldn't you think that if he was acquired in this hypothetical, somebody like Aaron Judge or one of these team captains would, basically put him in line? And I told him, I'm like, that's the problem. You don't know if he could. Maybe yes, maybe no. We're not, we're not fortune tellers, right, Sean? And that's the problem. You have no assurance that if he got traded to a contending team like the Yankees and was around the right people like an Aaron Judge, who's the most Jeter-esque player we've seen as far as his leadership qualities, you don't know if he would listen. You would hope that he'd listen to a guy like Judge, but you have no assurance. So that's what would scare me. And that leads to my second point, and I'll just leave the floor to you. I told him, if that's the case, bro, I'd rather, and plus he's going to cost you a lot of prospects, a boatload. So at that point, I'd rather go for a guy that's equally as good as shortstop, but safe and is still out there. And I say safe because he doesn't have any off the field issues. And of course, I'm talking about Dansby Swanson. Um, Give me your thoughts on both those guys and what I just said as far as Judge or any of the team captains like Rizzo putting Tatis in line. You don't believe that, do you?
Honestly, no. I think it would be fine. He is 23 years old. He's still a young kid that gets into a lot of trouble. But I think under the right helm, you know, New York is different, especially playing for the Yankees. They take things very, very seriously. It is very, very intense here. You're either good or you're not, and you're quickly out of here. And I think with the Yankees, he would be straightened out. Like I said, he's still so young, so young, and I think after a while, I think he will get straightened out, and he still has 12 more years of that contract left on a 14-year deal that he signed 2 years ago. He, but granted, he would still be. I think he signed till 35, so it's a perfect deal. And this is it. This is the only time you can trade for him because he will be back, and then he will be back to being one of the top players in baseball. Like when he's on the field, he's one of the best
Oh, no
players in
doubt.
all of baseball.
No doubt.
So I do think it would be such a win for the Yankees to have him because I do think, yeah, he'll be a troublemaker every now and then. For within those 12 years he still has left in the contract, yes, but it's
PR nightmare, bro. PR nightmare for
I
Brian
don't
Cashman,
know. That's the
for
thing
Hal
though because
Steinbrenner.
who do you look up to in San Diego? Who's the guy that's really settling you down? Machado? Like, Machado had his trouble
The
in
thought of that
Baltimore and
is
LA.
hilarious.
Yeah, it's just when you don't have anyone like that, when no leadership. And I'm not trying to say Machado's a bad person, but he had his issues.
That's why I laugh.
Judge doesn't have those issues. When you're a captain, and Judge will be,
But
when
it's
you're the
still
captain of the
New
Yankees.
York, though, man. It's
I
still
know
the
I get
city
it.
of
The
New York.
nightlife in New
There's
York,
so much out there. There's so
but
much,
I get it. But same thing. But
so much
if we're talking about
temptation. You know what I'm saying?
sure, sure, but San Diego is not much. Like San Diego's a 2-hour road trip to L.A. Like he could go out and do whatever. It's not like we're talking about him in Kansas City or something. Like he could still San Diego. You could still have a great time if he was playing for Miami. We'd do the same thing. Like
Oh yeah.
like I think in New York they could settle him because especially San Diego doesn't have that type of fan base. They're ride or die for him, and it's New York. You could be great, but if you're off, like look at A-Rod. A-Rod was amazing on the field, but he had so many problems off the field that he was hated so quickly. And I think that you know can humble you real quick, especially New York is not easy. And I think honestly, if he came to New York, he'd be huge. And I think if he was under Judge's wing, like I think Tatis is a fantastic player and doesn't need any, you know, talent level help. But to make it work in New York, you have someone like Anthony Rizzo and Aaron Judge to help you, two real captains. You know, especially coming from Chicago now, coming from here, bro, you could not ask for a better situation to really learn how to be a baseball player, a professional athlete, and especially how New York runs things. They're one of the best organizations when it comes to helping um, Spanish or Hispanic athletes come over and learn and to be professional athletes. The Yankees are one of the best and invest a lot of money into doing that. I think he would be perfectly fine. Maybe a couple hiccups, obviously. He's 23 years old. He's going to do stupid things. He's going to think he's going to ride his motorcycle at 80 miles an hour through Manhattan Times Square. He's going to do it. There's
You
plenty
do
of
that,
famous
you got a
people out
death
there.
wish,
He's
bro.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I think he will be humbled. I think he will come in, and then when you see a winning culture and how much fun it is to win in New York and how quickly it is to be hated on when you're losing, I think he'll settle down and with the right captains and the right leadership, he'll be just fine.
I mean, it would still cost you a boatload of prospects. Let's be real.
Oh
You know,
yeah,
just
yeah.
because, San Diego's soured on him right now because of all his off the field stuff doesn't mean they're gonna give him away for cheap.
Oh no,
Um,
cost you
and that,
everything to get him.
yeah, yeah. So that leads me to part B of my conversation with my buddy. What about Dansby? Wouldn't you wouldn't take him?
No, no, because Dansby's gonna get, and I'm not saying Dansby's not a bad player because he is. He's a
Dude,
great player.
great
He
shortstop.
Yeah, no, fantastic. And the fact that um, Atlanta's not keeping him is a shame, but Atlanta runs a great organization. They know how to keep their team. They signed them young, and they're long deals
They
that
already got his
pass.
replacement on deck with Vaughn Grissom, bro.
Oh
That's
yeah,
it.
no, they're fine.
Yeah,
They're gonna be just fine. But look at because of how crazy the market has been this off season, this winter meetings, and everyone's getting 9 years, 10 years, 11 years, 13 years. It's been a crazy off season for shortstops, especially. He was smart. He waited it all out. Now he knows that he's probably going to get another 9 year deal somewhere, 8 year deal. Not the same
and you're
age.
not willing for the Yankees to pay him
Hell no.
that.
If you
I
develop
mean, I
three
don't blame you.
shortstops,
Yeah,
you
I don't
develop three
blame you.
shortstops, and Volpe's supposed to be the answer. I think
Yeah.
Volpe is the starting second baseman. Eventually, by June this year, and then after that, he'll probably slot right into shortstop and be your
I
starting guy.
mean, I agree with you. I just wanted to throw it out there because if you don't trade for Tatis, the biggest name out there now that Correa's gone is Dansby Swanson. Let's be real. Like hitting
Yeah,
wise, he's the best hitter left out there and the best quote unquote everyday player. So I mean, I'm with you though. I mean, if you're gonna place all your hedges, and I've said this on previous episodes, if you're gonna place all your hedges, all your bets on Volpe being the guy and being the next coming of God, then yeah, you better give the kid time and not sign somebody that's gonna basically block his way. So I'm with you. Me personally, um, I'm with you to an extent about that. I would trade for a left fielder as well. And full disclosure, I would be happy if it was Brian Reynolds. Like I said, I'm just not as high on him as you are
yeah,
because, like I said, the way Michael K phrased his speech on his show, he made it seem and made this he made you feel like something major was happening. And like I said, I don't equate and associate the name Brian Reynolds with major. You get me? I
Yeah.
think I think a signing like that or a trade like that would be good, but not major. You get me? Like I'm when I'm thinking major, I'm thinking like a name that when I see the alert pop up from Bleacher Report, I'm like, whoa, the Yankees got that guy? I don't I wouldn't feel like that with a Brian Reynolds.
I
But
disagree.
but
I would be over the
positionally,
moon for someone like Reynolds, man.
but
But I see what you're
positionally,
saying.
man, I'll be honest with you. If you mentioned him earlier, if somehow, some way, by some miracle of God, you could get somebody to take Donaldson off your hands, I would love to see third base addressed. That's the main thing I would want to see addressed, aside from left field, because I mean, theoretically, you know, if you don't bring Benintendi back, again, me, like I said, this is me personally, and I had a whole debate with Alex about this. I feel like you could survive with letting Oswaldo have that left field spot if you needed to. I'm not saying that would be your go-to move or your number one option, but if you had to, if like you quote unquote struck out on all the remaining left fielders, or you prioritized third base or shortstop or whatever other position before left field, and you had to go in house, I'd feel comfortable going with Oswaldo Cabrera as your left fielder. He showed you he could do it.
Mm.
So, you know, I feel like I would want to see a position like third base solidified. I feel like you can't have that hole in your lineup, from Donaldson again this year. Unless, like you said, unless you're gonna just give that third base spot to LeMahieu full time, then I'd be fine with it because I trust DJ's bat much more than Donaldson's at this point. I think we can all agree on that. And and yeah, bro, like I just don't want that hole in the lineup right anymore.
Yeah.
Defensively he's great, but offensively I don't know. You can't have that. You can't have these awful looking strikeouts, Sean. You remember?
I
It was
do.
like the second coming of Chris Carter, bro. You remember that? Like those two
Yes.
could have a competition of who looked worse at the plate.
Yeah, it wasn't good. No, it was not. That's the thing, though. That's the big issue now is trading someone like Donaldson. Who's there to take their base, and I guess you could go like either way. If nothing else happens, let's just say they figure out the outfield either with Reynolds or Benintendi or someone else, Kepler, another guy that's definitely been thrown out there. Let's just say they figure it out there. Donaldson's still at third base. It's troubling, and I think it would be DJ that would take over at third base to start. Donaldson kind of coming off the bench because he has been great. It's actually I don't know because Donaldson is one of the best defensively third baseman that there was last year. He was fantastic, and but he just can't hit, and so I don't know if it's tough. We're paying him 25 million to probably bat eighth in the lineup now at this point. Like it's tough. I would love to trade him, but you got to figure out who's your third baseman after that. You could go out and get Benintendi or Reynolds or whatever, fill your outfield, and then even if you do trade Donaldson, you still need a third baseman. So that's why I think there's so many
Well, that's
moves
why I
still to be
posed the
had.
question to you. You wouldn't be happy with DJ taking over as the everyday third baseman?
No, because honestly, I think if you're gonna go out and get someone like Reynolds, then it's probably gonna cost Glaber,
Hmm.
and then that's when you want to put DJ back at his Gold Glove position. He's a Gold Glover at second base.
Oh, I agree. I've
So
vouched
I
for him
would
at
love
that
to see
position.
DJ back at second. Yeah, sometimes playing third, sure, no problem. But that's why I think if they do that trade and Glaber's gone and DJ takes over second base, you got to make a decision whether you could trade Donaldson, and in trading Donaldson, you could replace him with a better third baseman. So that's why the Donaldson trade doesn't seem likely to me as much as I would love for it to happen. I know that there's rumors out there saying that the Yankees are having trouble trading him and Hicks. I think Hicks will definitely get traded regardless. Hicks, you could eat that contract and just get rid of the roster spot. There's no reason to have him. But it's tough because you don't have any real third base replacement except for DJ. But if you're trying to go out and make this big trade acquisition that no one's talking about, it's probably going to cost you Glaber and another top shortstop prospect. I know IKF can get traded as well, but it's just that's tough to me. Third base is it's like a black hole for us right now. It's
And
really
that's what I
tough,
want to fix. That's
and
what I would like to see addressed.
yeah, and you have to because even if you get Reynolds, right, it's great, but it's not better than Houston's lineup.
Mm-mm.
It's only adding Reynolds to replace Benintendi, which is an upgrade, but it's not like the biggest upgrade in the world that
Yeah,
you're.
you're still not significantly better than you were last year, at least offensively.
Yes,
Pitching wise,
yeah,
yes, and we go full circle with the Rodon signing. Pitching wise, you're head over heels better than you were last year. Hello, you literally replaced Jamison Tyone with Carlos Rodon. Let's be real, bro. That's
you take it a step further.
night and
You
day.
replace Montgomery and Tyone with Montas and Rodon. That's what you did. It seems like a win to me. You know, uh,
Um if Montas can get back to
and
his
I think he
Oakland
will.
A's form,
I
if he
think he
can
will.
get back to that, then yes, I agree with that statement.
And the thing is that even with that, let's just say he doesn't. I think he will be back to his old form, and maybe even the shoulder is an issue down the road. But you also have Clark, who's waiting to take a starting role, and I think Clark can be a pretty decent starter, a 5 inning guy. So you can give Clark that opportunity. I think it's a win-win either way, and for no pressure for Montas now. Montas goes from number one in Oakland to number five with us. He was supposed to be our number two, number three with us. Technically number two when we traded for him, and now you can be a number five. You can sit back and relax, take an extra 6 day if you need it.
Yeah.
Get your shoulder right because he's gonna have skip starts so that his shoulder stays
Oh, for
right.
sure, for sure.
So you're gonna see Clark get some starts. You're gonna see other guys come in. Obviously, all five are not gonna stay healthy the whole time.
You
But
know what I would love to see happen, bro? Not for nothing.
but
I would love to see, because listen to how we're talking about Frankie Montas in this very live.
uh-huh,
Doesn't this remind you of where we were exactly a year ago when we were talking about Nestor and how he was going to be the fifth guy and he could slot in
hmm
and go every fifth day, maybe take a spot start here and there. And he just surprised the hell out of all of us and just, you know, took the league by storm. Wouldn't it be apropos and just, perfect if Frankie Montas kind of had that same type of bounce back and, had a great year like what Nestor had, maybe not Nestor level, but basically had a great bounce back year, like and rounded to his Oakland A's form where we're like, damn, bro, we were here talking about this guy being the fifth guy. Look at what he's doing. That would be, bro, like that
yeah,
would be great.
no, it would. It's gonna be something to see. I hope so. it's
You and me both, bro.
Yeah, no, I definitely hope so. It's gonna be something to see for sure. Now the big thing is for Yankees Twitter is to see left field, and I think that's the number one priority they're gonna try to focus on now. I think it's gonna be super silent though. I think the Yankees are gonna have to be patient, Yankee fans. I mean, because I think the Yankees will call Benintendi like they already have. There'll
Mm-hmm.
be the John Heyman rumors of the Yankees have done this and the initial offers of nonsense and whatever for Benintendi. I think that's going to happen. But I think the Yankees are working with Reynolds or Kepler or something. And I think Kepler's like a third to fourth option. You lose that because if Benintendi goes to Houston or any other team, I think that's going to be brutal. And then if Benintendi goes to Houston, you have to go get Reynolds. Like you have to
Oh,
now.
no doubt,
You
no
can't
doubt.
lose Benintendi to, pivot to Kepler and think you're gonna beat Houston. Like all we've done is re-sign everyone we had last year and now just got Rodon. Rodon's the first person that's gonna wear a new uniform on our team. So far everyone else is back. So you have to re-signing everyone is great. It's great to have the old team back, but the old team last year was not better than Houston. So I think that's why the Yankees have been kind of tiptoeing around going after Benintendi because it's great to have Benintendi, but Benintendi's not winning us or bringing us over the hump for beating Houston. So I think I think Reynolds is the big move, or maybe not. I do think Reynolds is definitely in the conversation, but maybe they're doing something bigger. I don't know. Like I don't know them like that, but it's something we're gonna have to see for sure. I think left field is the top thing to go after right now, and definitely need to do that. And after that, I got to go into a deep dive into what they want to do at third base. So that whole side of the field is a big talking point for the next 2 to 6 weeks.
Yeah, man. Yeah, looking forward to it. Hopefully we get some big news in, like you said, the next coming weeks, you know?
Yeah, yes, sir. But I'm gonna cut the stream here. It was fun. Hopefully the Yankees go out and get someone. I'm happy to have Carlos Rodon as a Yankee. The Yankees rotation is set. A couple bullpen moves need to be made still, but very excited for the starting rotation and for this team so far. I really look forward to seeing what the Yankees do at left field and potentially third base and the trades along the way.
And the big move that we're still waiting to see unfold. I'm anxiously looking forward to that now.
Yes, me too. Me too. Well, Enrique, it was a
Bienvenidos,
pleasure.
Carlos.
That's right.